this morning, spreading across Europe and the U.S. on Tuesday. Merck, WPP, Rosneft, Mondelez, all among the major companies that were hit. The attack, referred to as Petya, is the second global cyber strike in as many months, Jason. And once again, we're left asking, are companies doing enough? If they're not, what do they do now? Whether this represents an elevated strike from the WannaCry just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, this is serious business. You know, for people who don't know exactly how these attacks works, they typically work through attachments and phishing, which means you think you're getting an attachment from a friend. It tells you to log in. Oh, my God, I'm sharing photos with you. Oh, my God, I've got an important business proposal. You log into a website that's not Microsoft or Google's. You give your credentials. Your machine gets infected. They encrypt and lock up all your data or delete it, then demand some Bitcoin or payment anonymously in order to release it. And all of this could be avoided with two-factor authentication, people not opening attachments, and people updating their software. And so what has to happen is corporate America has to not allow people to use outdated software. This was a patch that was done a month ago by Microsoft.
It strikes me we're looking at the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone, and this is something that's hitting PCs. I mean, use of the cloud and use of mobile devices kind of gives you another line of productivity away from this sort of attack, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Why is this happening? It's because people are using old desktop software and they're not following very basic best practices. And I was talking to, we have a newsletter, Inside Security, and I was talking to David Strom, who writes it, and they think that this ransomware attack looks suspiciously incompetent in that it's one Bitcoin address and one email address, which since has been shut down for you to submit payment to. Why would somebody create something that affects so many computers, but then is incompetent at collecting the ransom? They think that there might be some second wave of attack that could happen here. So I think if you're a consumer, what you need to know is you have to have the latest updates turned on. If you're a business, you have to take cybersecurity very seriously in terms of updates. And as a consumer, you want to have your data backed up in 2 or 3 locations: iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft Backup. Pick 2 of them and back everything up to 2 locations. This way, when your hard drive or your computer does get compromised, you can pull down one of those 2 backups.
Yeah, that's one reason some of our guests yesterday suggested it's, they called it cyber vandalism. They don't want the ransom necessarily, they just want to see something burn. And time will tell whether that's actually the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of chaos. Yeah, a bit of chaos, yeah.
Finally, Jason, stay with us here. Meal kit delivery service Blue Apron set to price tonight on its IPO, but slashing the range by almost a third. Our Aditi Roy has been following the major players in that industry and joins us this morning from San Francisco as well. Hi, Aditi.
Hi there, Carl. That's right. Blue Apron is tapping into a very crowded food e-commerce market that could reach $66 billion by 2021. Just check out the competition. There is Plated, which has raised $35 million. HelloFresh is valued at 2 billion euros, but had a down round and called off its IPO. Then there's Nestle-backed Freshly, Campbell's Soup-backed Chef, and Unilever-backed Sunbasket. But there are also some notable companies that have gone belly up. Sprig, once valued at $110 million, shuttered its operations this spring. So did Maple. It was backed by celebrity chef David Chang and launched to much fanfare. But ultimately, it burned through cash quickly and fell prey to high operating costs and razor-thin margins, and was eventually acquired by the UK's Deliveroo. And, of course, Munchery, once valued at $250 to $275 million, it's gone through layoffs and recently raised money at a down round. So what are the ingredients for success? Industry watchers tell me the common thread among the successful companies is that they use conventional mail rather than couriers for delivery, driving down their operating costs. But some experts say that Blue Apron's biggest threat might be the combination of Whole Foods and Amazon. Setting up for a food fight there. Back to you guys.
We'll see what happens tonight. Aditi, thank you very much. Jason, really quick, when Whole Foods Amazon hit, people wondered whether this deal would survive at all. Will it?
Yeah, I think Blue Apron has figured something out that consumers love. I don't think Whole Foods is going to get into this space for a little while, so they have a decent head start. And they figured out something special, which is if they own the beef producer, if they own the farms, and they go from the source to the table, and they deliver, let's say, 6 meals or 9 meals, they can take that $20 delivery cost and amortize it across multiple meals. The reason the Sprigs and the Spoon Rockets and other services died very quickly was they had an average of 1.5 meals per order, and they still had this $10 or $20 delivery cost. Blue Apron is doing much better in that regard, but it's still a very challenging business.
Jason, do customers writ large really love it? I mean, the problem for me with these services, I hear Blue Apron, people do it, and it's not enough food. You're paying a premium on the one hand for being lazy, not going out and doing your own grocery shopping, maybe at Whole Foods, but on the other hand, it's still a lot of work when you get it home and there are no leftovers. I'm not sure I want this.
Yeah, so these are all fair points. It's about $10 a meal. You get all the portions are set up for you, so it is pretty simple. We're about halfway to what this product will eventually look like. I just looked at another startup called Tovala yesterday, and they make an oven, which is steam, convection, and toaster, and you scan a barcode, you put a box in, and it steams it, then bakes it, then broils it, and it was absolutely delicious food. And what was and I'm not an investor in it yet, but what's interesting about it is you just scan a barcode and it does the recipe for you, and that takes out 2 or 3 steps that Blue Apron has. So people want a service like this. I think it appeals to a slightly younger demographic, let's say 25 to 35, 2-income home. You have to have at least 2 people in the home. And then when they get kids, then I think they double down on it. So it's a big time saver. There's a group of consumers who order it 2 or 3 times a month. And I think it's great that this is a lower price target and a lower share price, because this is a direct reaction to the overpricing of Snap, I believe. A lot of people who bought Snap feel a little burned. It was very expensive. It went out the top of the range and the top of the range. And now we, I think, are seeing something healthy. A smaller company raising smaller amounts of money at a lower stock price. Maybe that gives people who are buying the stock a chance to actually make some money, instead of, like with Twitter and Snapchat, losing money, right? And this is maybe a healthy thing that the markets are skeptical. I like a skeptical market.
I just want to ask you about the competitive landscape. Aditi showed that there are a number of players here. Blue Apron may be first and biggest, but it's pretty low barrier to entry. Is there any sense that there's consumer loyalty to one specific brand over another?
Yeah, in any business, if you delight the customer and they start having repeatability, you're going to have some loyalty there. But you're right that it's easier to get into. The defense will come from your brand and from your supply chain and your scale. So you may have seen that Blue Apron bought Neiman or Nyman, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Ranch, or one of their subsidiaries. And so they literally are producing the beef. So in the same way that Bonobos or, Warby Parker is direct to consumer, we're going to see farms going direct to recipes on people's tables, and that allows you to do the delivery cost because you're taking out a couple of middlemen there, right? You don't have a distributor and you don't have a retailer. You can sort of have a little bit more margin. Very challenging business, but the performance is pretty exciting, and I think that's why they were able to IPO the company. And I like these young companies with under $1 billion going public and giving investors a chance to maybe participate again in a company that's not at $10 billion in revenue or $5 billion in revenue. That's a healthy thing for us, and it's a healthy price. So these are good signs that there is an opportunity here.
Glass half full. We'll see what the pricing looks like tonight and the action tomorrow. Jason lighting up the phone lines again. We'll see you next time. Jason Calacanis joining us.